For many centuries, humans around the world have brought mythic creatures to life in stories, music, and works of art. Today, these creatures continue to delight us. Mythic creatures, dragons, unicorns, and mermaids, traces the natural and cultural roots of some of the world's most enduring mythological creatures. This amazing exhibition includes eye-popping models, paintings, textiles, along with other cultural objects from around the world, ranging from shadow puppets to Japanese armour, that bring to light surprising similarities and differences in the ways people have been inspired by nature to envision and depict these strange and wonderful creatures.
Well, when we originally conceived of the exhibit, it came really out of paleontology, because some of us were just sitting around talking about how people in the past and in historic times would have looked at fossils that they found, how they would have interpreted them, and their relationship to the myths about dragons and about giants and other things, and the whole interplay of whether or not that these fossils that they've encountered all the time actually were the root of those myths, or whether they were interpreted in light of those myths.
When you enter mythic creatures, you're in a fantastic world of light and shadow, a magical world, a different ambiance. And although you will see some natural history-like reproductions of a unicorn, of a rock, of a dragon circling overhead, they're presented in a very playful way and in a very playful light constellation. You know that what you're looking at comes from dreams, comes from stories.
Visitors are greeted upon entering by a 17-foot-long dragon. Perhaps the most famed of mythic creatures, dragons are found on land, in air and water throughout Asia, Europe and the Americas. They are featured throughout the exhibit.
As you walk into Creatures of the Water, the first section of the exhibit, one of the first things you see is a giant kraken. A great giant squid-like creature rising from the depths of the gallery floor. And next to it, a tentacle from an actual giant squid, much smaller, much less threatening looking. But you can imagine people, when they caught a glimpse of a tentacle, imagining something even more monstrous and threatening lurking in the depths, reaching up, pulling the ship to its doom with long tentacles.
But horrors like the kraken and sea monsters are not the only creatures who call the water home.
We have a display of mermaids. Mermaids are something that sailors reported widely in the so-called Age of Exploration. We understand now that what they probably saw were large sea mammals, manatees, for example.
Voodoo banners from Haiti depicting the mermaid La Sirène, a hoax Fiji mermaid, and an early 20th century ship figurehead illustrate conceptions of mermaids from around the world. They are joined by stone carvings of Sedna, an Inuit goddess, and sculptures of York, a water spirit from Australia.
In the second section, Creatures of the Land, the first thing your eye goes to is a white unicorn bathed in a kind of luminous purple light.
Many of the creatures of the land appear to have body parts from ordinary animals, combined in unusual ways. Horses gain narwhal tusks to become unicorns. The enormous bones of mammoths, mastodons, and woolly rhinoceroses found by ancient Greeks may have inspired tales of giants, while bones of fossil dwarf elephants might have inspired tales of the Cyclops. And dinosaur bones may have inspired another strange creature.
Well, one of the stories that we really bring out in the exhibit is this story about the Protoceratops. And Protoceratops is a small herbivorous dinosaur found in Central Asia. And the specimens where they're found are incredibly common. I work in Central Asia, and we can walk some of these places and see 10 or 12 specimens in a single day. So obviously people in the past would have encountered them also.
Protoceratops skeletons look remarkably like the head of the griffin, a half-eagle, half-lion beast rumoured to live in the east, the same area in which Protoceratops are found. Other land creatures include the barong, represented by Balinese dancers with masks, and the yeti, who may have been based on giant extinct apes.
In the third section, we ascend. We're with the creatures of the air.
Air is the realm of the phoenix, an Asian bird of good omens shown here in a richly embroidered Chinese silk panel and a glazed clay roof charm. And the Garuda, now the national symbol of Thailand and Indonesia. Greek mythology contributes the monster Sphinx and the winged horse Pegasus, while Japan's goblin-like Tengu is represented by a carved figurine. And the biggest bird of them all sails over visitors' heads.
There are other stories that are really could possibly be tied to fossil animals, and one of the classic ones is the roc, which was a giant bird that's mentioned in the Arabian Nights that was, ferocious, ate elephants, lived in far-off places. And that there is some evidence that that story could have come from the elephant bird, which was the largest bird to ever live. It weighed about a ton. It inhabited Madagascar up until quite recently. When the first explorers got to Madagascar, for instance, it was still alive, even though that they never saw one. But certainly the indigenous people of Madagascar would have encountered these things on a daily basis.
The grand finale of this exhibit is a room devoted to dragons. Dragons exist in the earth, on the earth, in the air, in the water. They are east and they are west, but they're different. The western dragon is a fallen angel. The western dragon is satanic. In the east, in China, in Korea, in Japan, in Vietnam, the dragon has a different meaning. Dragons can cause mischief, dragons can bring floods, dragons can bring droughts, but the dragon is the powerful ruler. And when people behave, when there's harmony in the world, then the dragon rises up to heaven and brings rain. And rain is absolutely essential if you are an agricultural society, as these societies were. As with all of our exhibits, there are a lot of interactives in the gallery, interactives that draw in the younger visitors, but some of them for the older visitors too. One of the most popular was the Build-A-Dragon experience.
A wall of photographic portraits of people of all ages are accompanied by their stories about how mythic creatures inspire and influence them in their own lives.
Anywhere this exhibit travels, it can be customized to local people and their own understandings of mythic creatures.
The exhibit really turned out to be much more popular than we ever thought. In fact, it is one of the most popular exhibits that we've ever had at the museum. I think that's really because it appeals to all different kinds of people and all different ages of people who come to it with really, really different sorts of interests. So it's not like an exhibit on one particular focused thing. It's an exhibit about all of us and all the cultures that we sprang from.